Okay, so one area of algebra where students make a ton of mistakes is matrix multiplication, and I have an example problem of matrix multiplication right here. Now, if you're looking at this problem and you're saying, you know what, I know how to do this, well, that is fantastic. Let's see if we can multiply this 3 by 3 matrix by this 3 by 1 matrix. In other words, we're going to find the product of these two matrices. And if you know how to do this, put your answer into the comment section. I'll show you the correct answer in just 1 second. Then, of course, I'm going to fully explain exactly how to multiply these two matrices. This is a very important topic for those of you out there that are studying any sort of algebra. Matrices are critically important and widely used at all levels of mathematics. But even if you don't know what a matrix is or how to even multiply two matrices, stick around. You'll totally understand this in a few minutes. But before we get started, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John, and I have been teaching middle and high school math for decades. And it really is my true passion to try to make learning math as easy as possible. So if you need assistance in mathematics, check out my math help program at tcmathacademy.com. You can find a link to that in the description below. And if this video helps you out, or if you just enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe, as that definitely helps me out. Okay, so for those of you out there that are looking at this and be like, you know what, I never even studied this topic in math. Well, let's just quickly demystify what a matrix is. So, very simply put, a matrix is a way to organize information by rows and columns. All right, that's all a matrix is. You could effectively think of it like a spreadsheet. So, if you are familiar with the software program Microsoft Excel or a database where you have rows and columns, that's effectively what a matrix does. It organize information by rows and columns, and of course, the various pieces or the various parts of a matrix. These things right here are called entries, and they have positions. Now, this matrix right here I described as a 3 by 3 matrix, and this one is a 3 by 1 matrix. So anytime we talk about matrices, we always measure them or describe their size by rows and columns. So this one here has 3 rows and 3 columns. So this is a 3 by 3. And this one right here has 1, 2, 3 rows and 1 column. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the answer. The correct answer is the following. So when you multiply these two matrices, you should have gotten this. And what we have here is a 3 by 1 matrix with entries 5, 8, and 6. Okay, so how did you do? Well, if you got this right, let's go ahead and celebrate by giving you a nice little happy face, an A plus, a 100%, and multiple stars. So you could brag to your friends and family that indeed you are a certified professional expert in the area of matrix multiplication. Now, most of your friends and family will have no idea what you're talking about, but it just sounds pretty cool to tell people that. But if you are looking at this problem and you're like, I have no idea what's going on, well, let's go ahead and get into it right now. Now, it's possible that you haven't studied matrix multiplication, but when you take algebra courses, like let's say pre-algebra, certainly algebra 1, you should be introduced to the concept of a matrix. Now, again, a matrix is just a way to organize information by rows and columns. And for our purposes here in algebra, we're going to be organizing numbers, okay, by rows and columns. But what's the whole value behind learning about matrix multiplication or just matrices in general? That's the plural of a matrix. Well, there is a ton of applications that you can solve for with matrices. Matter of fact, this topic, okay, matrix, is related to a bigger mathematical field called linear algebra, and that is a huge part of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of stuff interests you. Well, this is the kind of math that is used. But again, this is stuff that you absolutely need to know in algebra. But let's kind of get into this problem now. So we're talking about matrix multiplication. So when we have these various matrices, and you can all have all different types of sizes, you can perform various operations with matrices. So you can add, subtract, and you can multiply. And then in terms of division, well, there's something called an inverse matrix that's a little bit different, but we could perform various matrix uh, operations to include something called scalar multiplication, which is different than matrix multiplication. So, again, a huge topic here. But here is the thing, not all matrices can be multiplied. Okay, so before we even try to do this problem, we have to see if, in fact, we are even allowed to do it. So, what am I talking about? Well, let's go ahead and see how you multiply two matrices. The first thing we need to do is to check if in fact we can even get a product. Now the way that works is the following. So remember, the size of a matrix is rows and columns and rows and columns. So here's the condition that has to be met when you want to multiply two matrices. So if I want to multiply this 3 by 3 by this 3 by 1, we have to look at the column of the first. Okay, in this case it's 3. Okay, and we have to see if it's the same number, same value as the row of the second. Okay, so this is a 3 by 1, this is a 3 by 3, so we're comparing this number and this number right here. Okay, this is really important. So first things first, when you want to multiply 3 by 3 by 301, you're like, okay, can I even multiply this? Well, we look at this 3 and we see if it's the same number. Now, if this was a 3 and this was a 2, guess what? You can't even multiply these matrices. So you just say, hey, there's no product here, okay, because you cannot multiply these two particular matrices. Now, I'm quickly going over this just because of the nature of time. There is a lot of kind of background stuff that I would do, like in, say, formal instruction. But, this is still hopefully pretty straightforward to you in terms of, oh, okay, I got to make sure that these numbers are the same. Okay, so let's assume that they are the same. And of course, this case, they are. So that means we can actually multiply these matrices. So how do we get the answer? Well, what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you how we can actually compute the answer in a second. But first, we want to see what the result is going to be. So we look at this number, okay, the row of the first and the column of the second, and that is a 3 by 1. Okay, so 3 by 1, 3 and 1. This is going to be the size of our answer. So in other words, when we multiply these two matrices right here, we're going to end up with a 3 by 1. Remember, a 3 by 1 is 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, and 1 column. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to kind of check and be aware of when we want to multiply two matrices. Now, once we are like, pretty confident, yeah, yes, indeed, we can do this. Now we have to get into the fun part, which is actually calculating the respective entries. Okay, so here are our two matrices. Now we're going to end up with a 3 by 1. Okay, in other words, we're going to end up with something like this right here. This is a 3 by 1. So we have 1 entry, 2 entry, and 3 entries. Okay, now how do we get these numbers in our final answer? Well, this is the fun part. This is where a lot of students make errors, but let's highlight this right now. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to do one, and then I'm gonna see if you, okay, can do the other two entries. All right, now again, this is where students make a lot of mistakes because you truly have to focus. All right, now right here, okay, matter of fact, let's just talk about this matrix. This is a 3 by 1, and our answer is a 3 by 1. This position right here, we can describe as row 1. Okay, this is the first row, column 1. Now, in this particular case, we only have one column, but this is row 1, column 1. Now, if we have multiple columns, you would have row 1, column 2, row 1, column 3, etc. Okay, so this is row 2, column 1. So this 4 is at the position row 2, column 1, and then this negative 1 is row 3, column 1. All right, so you got to be able to understand these various positions here of these entries. So what we're going to be doing here, okay, is we're going to calculate the answer, okay, we're going to compute the entry for this position right here, which is what? This is row 1, column 1. Okay, so row 1, column 1, that's what we're going to be computing here. And you can see I already did the answer. But how do we do this? Well, what we need to do, okay, is we need to use the rows of the first matrix, the one on the left, and the columns of the second matrix, the one on the right. So to compute this, we're going to use row 1, column 1, because that's what we want. Right here, we want to compute row 1, column 1. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, here is what we do. So you're going to take the first entry, okay, of the row and the column, and we're going to multiply. So -1 times 2 is what? -2. All right, so understand what I just did? So I'm taking the first entry of the row and the first entry of the column, and I'm going to multiply them. Okay, so now we're just going to kind of scoot along to the right and scoot down. Okay, so now we'll do the second one. We're going to add that result to this result, okay, which is going to be 3 times 4, which is 12. Okay, so you see what I just did? So I did -1 times 2, okay, got that answer, plus now I'm going over to the right one and down 1 to 4. And then lastly, we're going to add that to the results. We're just going to scoot over one more time until we are out of numbers, so that we're going to be using 5 and -1. So 5 times -1 is -5. And when we do this, we have -2 plus 12 is, of course, positive 10 plus -5. So that our answer here is 5. That is our entry. Our correct answer for this, our answer is, I'm all over the place here, our 3 by 1. We have row 1, column 1. So our answer here is 5 in the row 1, column 1 position. All right, now I know this is confusing, especially for some of you out there that are new to this, but that's why I kind of preface this video by saying, hey, a lot of students make mistakes, even good students here, because this is confusing, okay? All right, so now I'm going to erase all of this. And for those of you that are new to matrix multiplication, or if you're like saying, you know what, I didn't really understand it this way, see if you can compute the rest of the answers here. Okay, so let's just kind of quickly kind of go over this. So this answer right here is in what position? Well, this would be in, let me go ahead and get my pen here. This is row 2, column 1, and this is row 3, column 1. Okay, so these are the positions we just did. Row 1, column 1. Okay, and we used this and this. So to get row 2, column 1, you're going to use this row and this column. And then for this last entry down here, to get row 3, column 1, you're going to use row 3. And then, of course, we only have one column. And you're just basically going to repeat the process. All right, so if you want to try this, go ahead and pause the video. I'll show you the correct answer in just 1 second, but I want to give you an opportunity to kind of do this problem with me. So let's go and take the next step, which of course is having you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I need your support. Now, I need your support. Yeah, well, of course, personally, it's a great, compliment to have someone subscribe to my channel. But really, I've been on YouTube for 10 plus years. I have 2,000 plus math videos, from basic math to advanced math, like calculus and everything in between. That's a massive amount of content. I do it because I am trying to teach as many people math that like my teaching style or can benefit from the material that I'm putting on YouTube. Okay, there is a ton of people out there that struggle in math, not because they're not capable of doing mathematics, but primarily because they're just not getting adequate instruction. I'm not saying that they have bad math teachers, but they may not be able to spend enough time with their math teacher, and they're looking around and they're trying to find more information on a particular math topic. Now, the worst thing you can do if you're looking around and trying to understand, let's say, for example, matrix multiplication, is to watch a 2-minute video on matrix multiplication. Here, I can show you 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 how to do this, but that still leaves students with a lot of questions. Now, how do I know this? Well, I've been doing this for decades and decades, years and years and years. I've seen all the mistakes, and I want to share all my kind of lessons learned and, things that I think, I hope can benefit students, because I'd really try to teach things in a non-textbook way. But I don't want to take up too much time here, but it's important that I do get your support to grow my channel. If you're going to do that, hit that notification bell as well. Thanks for listening to my little commercial here. Again, it is important for me to have your support to continue these videos. But let's get back to this problem, and let's see how you did. Hopefully you tried the rest of these 2 entries, but let's go through this right now. All right, so we talked about how to find this first entry. So let's go ahead and review this second entry right here. So this is row 2, okay, row 2, column 1. So we've got to use the rows of the first and the columns of the second. Now, of course, this is easy because there's only one column here, but if there was multiple columns, like a 3 by 3 times a 3 by 3, this gets even much more exciting. And, and I can tell you right now, even the best of math students make mistakes because it's just so many little tiny things going on. You have to really, focus. Okay, so let's go through this right now. So we have 3 times 2. We're going to start with the entries of the rows and the columns. So 3 times 2 is 6. Now we're going to scoot over 1 and down 1. Okay, so that's going to bring us to 0 times 4. And of course, 0 times 4 is 0. And then we're going to scoot over 1 and down 1. And we end up with -2 times -1, which is 2. And of course, we're going to be adding all these entries. And this, of course, is going to be 8. But let's go ahead and see this last entry right here, and then we'll kind of clean up this entire thing. And you could see, again, we're working with lovely little integer values. Imagine if we had fractions. Imagine if I had a 3 by 3 with fractions in here, positive, negative numbers. Really easy to make a mistake. Okay, so this one right here, this entry is row 3, column 1, so we have to use the rows of the first and the columns of the second. So we're going to use the third row, column 1. So let's go ahead and just repeat this. So 1 times 2 is 2, okay? Now we're going to go over scoot 1, down 1 right here. So we're going to have 2 times 4 is 8. And then lastly, we're going to scoot over to the right and down one more time. So now we have 4 times -1 is -4. And when we do all of this work, of course, we're going to get 6. So our final answer is 5, 8, and 6. And again, this is a 3 by 1 matrix because we multiplied a 3 by 3 times a 3 by 1. Okay, let's just review this to wrap up this little video. So first of all, we checked to see that the column of the first is equal to the row of the second. It is. And so therefore we can multiply these two matrices, and the answer is going to be a 3 by 1, 3 rows and 1 column. And here it is. Okay, so in terms of difficulty, I would say this is a pretty easy matrix multiplication problem. Now, if you are at the level of math where you have to understand matrices, there is a lot more to know, like inverse matrices, Kramer's rule, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to give you a couple suggestions. Check out my Algebra 2 course or my pre-calculus course. You'll find links to those in the description. I will teach you everything you need to know about matrices. This is a big topic, but it's full instruction with a ton of example problems to include notes, etc., etc. But here's the thing that you don't want to do. You don't want to dismiss this and be like, well, I think I kind of understand it, because I could tell you right now, on any sort of test, quiz, or exam, you will make an error. Okay, so hopefully this video helps you out. If that's the case, don't forget to like and subscribe. And with that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your mathematics adventures. Thank you for your time and have a great day.